Hi, my name is Alex Wilkinson, and today I will be discussing and presenting the Birrong River of Mist and Shadows. Now, I'd like to start this video by paying my respects and doing an acknowledgement of country. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we discuss today, the Wurundjeri Bullock people of the Kulin Nation. I would also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. Now, in this video, we will be discussing the Heidelberg area, which is local to me, and specifically where the Yarra River meets Heidelberg on the two ovals. And that area resides to the Yarra River Valley, where the Wurundjeri Bullock clan were the traditional custodians and are the traditional custodians. Historically, it was used to develop trade and travel routes to successfully manage inland waters. However, it wasn't just that to the Wurundjeri Bullock clan. It wasn't seen as from a utility perspective, but more so the Yarra River is a significant life force for the Wurundjeri clan, as it shaped contemporary and historical Aboriginal life. Now, as we know, the Wurundjeri clan have a deep affinity with sovereign assets, and therefore, throughout the 1840s and 1850s, the Wurundjeri people were known by European settlers as the Yarra Yarra tribe, denoted by their spiritual connection to the river. Now that moves me on to European colonialism. The Yarra Yarra tribe, as they were known by European settlers, were moved across the river where they developed sacred camping and meeting places. Now, this happened across the length of the river, and one of these sacred camping and meeting places was Heidelberg, where the Yarra River meets it, and it is where I did my place-based learning. However, the importance of this river wasn't just recognised by the Wurundjeri people, because the Birrong River was a determining feature of European colonisation in 1835. And unfortunately, they took something that was so important to the Wurundjeri people and contaminated it in the mid-1800s by industry pollution and docking. However, if we were to look at contemporary perspectives, they display a far more inclusive landscape. They are primarily illustrated through the Yarra River Action Plan and its Protection Ministerial Advisory Committee. This committee reflects a partnership with traditional owners of the Yarra Valley land to inform environmental governance. This is the first instance of a paradigm shift to empower the Wurundjeri people by contributing to high-level deliberations about possible futures in a meaningful way. And an example of this from the Victorian government is the implementation of dreaming culture. Now, dreaming culture tells us that Bunjil, our creator spirit, made man, Kulin, which is man, from the earth, and that Bunjil's brother Balyang, the bat, created Bunjaruk, or women, from the water. Historically, this outlook has developed a requirement to touch the land and waters lightly, respecting that which provides life. Since our beginning, it has been understood that a harm to any aspect of BIC or country is a harm to all things ourselves. Now, after years of historical legislative neglect of Indigenous water management rights, the Birrong Council has granted legal recognition to the traditional owners of the land, which are the Wurundjeri people. So this way they are able to manage sovereign assets, and it's another demonstration of that paradigm shift in modern day culture. Now, this is the Heidelberg Birrong that I did my place learning at, and it is where the cultural camping and meeting places took place. Karangra means beautiful view, and this is where they set up a seat so you can reflect on where the river is now, where it's come from, and also reflect on the state it's in now, because as we discussed, it's polluted. It was polluted in the mid 1800s. But it's also a beautiful place to reflect with the flora and fauna. You can hear the birds, you see the trees, and it's a great spot. But also what I enjoyed about it was the nature walk towards the Yarra River, because as you can tell in all these photos, and in reverse, that's actually the way you get there, the nature around the path is unobstructed and untouched. In an attempt to preserve the land, a path is made, but the nature around it is left untouched. And it was a beautiful nature walk towards such an amazing site. However, I didn't believe for my research that this was enough to develop a narrative, and I needed some more artistic and humanitarian perspectives. In order to contribute toward the redressing of historically rooted problems, it's important that we create with mob and, if possible, by mob products as well, instead of simply recounting the story of Wurundjeri people. Therefore, I needed to gather some artistic and humanitarian perspectives from Indigenous artists. And to achieve this, I visited the Bunjalaka Aboriginal Cultural Centre to see the Burrung Gallery. And that is what I did. So I went to the National Gallery of Australia to see the Burrung Gallery. And the first thing you see on the left is a piece by McRae that's called Strangers from the Ocean. Now, this depicts, as I was saying, more so the European colonisation. And as you can see, it's a shadow art piece where the Aboriginal people are seeing the boat up the top, and they are seeing it come towards the Yarra River, and they are fighting it off, and they're doing everything they can to protect it. And it kind of creates that perspective of what it was like to, in a sense, what it was like to be there. And on the right, there was a Mandel Aboriginal Art Gallery close to the Yarra River in Heidelberg. So I went to that, and I wanted to find some depictions of what the river meant to the Wurundjeri people. And it was everywhere you could see, but I really liked this one, where it showed, I guess, a depiction of what the river meant to the Wurundjeri people. And with this artistic and humanitarian perspective, I was able to develop a with mob representation of the story at hand. And yeah.